In this episode, we're going to look at the genetics of human blood types. Now, the background for this video is actually a picture of what human blood looks like. So each one of these cells that you see is a red blood cell, or an erythrocyte, which is the proper name. So we're going to start by looking at the different types of human blood that we can have and what it means to be each type. Here's a diagram of red blood cells, and it has the four types, common types of blood that humans have. You can have type A blood, there's type B, there's type AB, and type O, and we'll talk about what the genetics of those mean. But the first thing that I want us to look at is what we call an antigen. An antigen is actually just a protein that is on the surface of the blood, and it essentially helps your body to recognize what things in your blood belong to you and what are foreign pathogens. That's very important because your blood is used as a powerful part of your immune system. You actually have a different type of blood cell called a white blood cell, and that helps to fight off infection and things. And so it's very important for your body to be able to recognize what belongs in your blood and what doesn't. And so these antigens are basically surface proteins on the cell, and they help you to help your body to detect foreign material inside your body and begin to regulate and understand what's common to your body and what's not. And so when we're talking about blood types, if we are blood type A, we have a particular type of antigen that people who are type B do not have. If we are type B, conversely, we have a type of antigen on the surface of our blood cells that people who are type A do not have. Now, because A and B blood are co-dominant, which we'll discuss in a minute, some people who have type AB blood can have both antigens. So their blood cells actually have both types of proteins. And then someone who has type O blood actually has none of these antigens. Now, if you're wondering why it's important and what these antigens mean for the individual person, this chart right here actually gives you a good indication of that. We have the various blood types going across the top. We have type A, we have type B, type AB, and type O. And again, this shows the antigens on the blood, so the A antigens and the B antigens, and then someone with AB blood having A and B antigens, and someone with O having no antigens. Well, what's interesting is that if you have type A blood, you build up B antigens, B antibodies. An antibody is a protein that is going to help destroy or fight off things that don't belong in your blood and in your body. So if you are a person with type A blood and you are given, say, in a blood transfusion, maybe you were in a car accident or you had a surgery and you lost a lot of blood, if they were to accidentally give you type B blood, then the B antigens in your body would begin to fight that off, and you would not recognize that B blood, and it could make you very sick. The same is true if you are type B, if you were to accidentally be given type A blood, because your body has built up these A antibodies that will begin to fight off the A blood. So your body, if you have type B blood, your body does not recognize type A blood, and so if you are given it in a transfusion, it could be a very bad thing, make you very ill. If you have type AB blood, what that means is that you have antigens for type A and antigens for type B, and therefore you do not build up A or B antibodies. And so you can be given type A blood and it will be okay for you, and you can be given type B blood and it will be okay for you. The last group here that we're looking at is type O, and if you have type O blood, you have no antigens on your blood cells, your red blood cells, and therefore you are going to have A and B antibodies. And so if you are given type A blood or type B blood, your body will reject it. And so we call type O, we typically call that the universal donor, is type O, because what that means is if you're type O, you can give to anyone, but unfortunately you cannot accept from anybody but type O. If you are type AB, we call you the universal, if you're type AB, you are the universal acceptor. And what that means is that you can accept blood from people who are type A, people who are type B, and people who are type AB, and people who are type O. So let's look really quickly at the actual genetics of...
Welcome to the channel. Please subscribe with notifications on.
We're going to start by looking at the 4 blood types. So, and we're going to put the phenotypes and the genotypes. So if we want to talk about phenotype, remember a phenotype is what you look like. It's the physical expression of your genes. So the phenotype for your blood, you have 4 phenotypes. You can be phenotype A. You can be phenotypically type B, so you can have A blood or you can have type B blood. You can have type AB, or you can be type O. So those are our 4 phenotypes. Now let's talk about the genotypes for blood. The genotype is your genes, and if you recall, we're always going to have 2 alleles for every gene because we're going to inherit one from our mother and one from our father. Now what we're going to find is that A and B are both dominant to type O. So O is going to be recessive. And so there's 2 different ways we can be type A. We can be homozygous for type A, and that'll have type A blood. Or we could be heterozygous with an A and an O. And the O is going to be recessive. And so it is going to be covered up by the dominant, which is A. Now we said A was dominant, but also B is dominant. So if we want to talk about the genotypes for B, we could be homozygous for type B, or we could also be heterozygous with a B allele, and we could have inherited an O allele from our parents, and we would still be type B. So we would have those type B antigens on our blood. Now, interestingly enough,
subscribe with notifications on.